Agents of Fandom.
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 Welcome back to the Agents of Fandom podcast. We have talked Ms. Marvel. It is time to dive into some Obi-Wan Kenobi, the season finale. We have a very special guest joining us, and I am excited because this isn't just a Star Wars guru. This is a fella Ahsoka stan, and I am very excited to be that you're joining us. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys? I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to talk Kenobi.
Doing very well. It's been a fun day. It's been exciting. We just got confirmation today. I'm going to be interviewing Scott Adsit, who is the voice of Baymax from Big Hero 6. He's got a upcoming series coming to Disney Plus. That's coming next week. So stay tuned to agentsofandom.com. And that just has me giddy. It's excited. I knew this was probably happening for a while, and we just got the confirmation today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm stoked. That's going to be super fun.
I love Big Hero 6, and the fact that it's got like small Marvel ties as well.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a Big Hero 6 Easter egg in the MCU before, which I definitely want to bring up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But Emily, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know you are a Star Wars fanatic like we are, and
yes,
your knowledge runs deep. Where did this fandom start for you?
So when I was younger, my mom worked weekends, and so it was always me and my dad at home because I was an only child for like 5-6 years. My dad is a huge Star Wars, like Lord of the Rings fan and stuff, and he's always finding like books for me. So like really my like fandom kind of started with like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I kind of fell off from Lord of the Rings though, and Star Wars and Marvel. Like I remember like being 9 and my dad taking me to see Iron Man in like, the theater for the first time, and then seeing like Iron Man 2 and stuff. And then I remember like leaving and asking him like, hey, when's Black Widow going to get a movie? Fun fact, we went back to that same exact theater to see Black Widow, her opening weekend.
That's
so
awesome.
That was amazing. But
the tattoo, you did it off screen.
Yes,
we got to see it on screen now.
Black Widow, she's one of my favorites. And then, Star Wars was just a thing that, just like another thing that he showed me. And I really liked it as a kid, but then I kind of fell off of it. But then like when The Force Awakens came out, I kind of like got back into it because this was like, my younger generations, like this is our trilogy that we get to see in theaters and stuff. Cause I was like a month old when The Phantom Menace came out. And then I was 6 when Revenge of the Sith came out and like all that fun stuff. So I've kind of grown up with the prequels. Like I would always watch Revenge of the Sith because I used to go through this phase where I would watch like the same movie 3 times a day, and like the first Harry Potter movie and Revenge of the Sith were like those 2 movies that I would watch 3 times a day.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Top Star Wars movie, which one is it for you?
Top Star Wars? Well, Revenge of the Sith is up there, but I am a Rogue One lover. I love Rogue One so much. It's one of my favorites. I cannot wait for Andor, and the fact that they already have like a page for it on Disney Plus is like just my favorite thing. Like I saw the banner for it like last night when like you go on Disney Plus and it like scrolls through all those. I was like, yes, Andor.
Those are two of my favorites.
Space.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Mine too.
So happy.
Revenge of the Sith is both of our favorites. I think Rogue One might be my number 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a safe space. We have a lot of
mutual
interests here. What did you, before we dive into the season finale, what did you think of Obi-Wan Kenobi as a whole?
As a whole, I really loved it. I was entertained the whole time. And I felt, and with these like kind of like, I guess like stories that just kind of fill in the middle with Star Wars, you kind of know like what happens to certain characters and stuff like when the end rolls around. But like during the series, I was like, holy crap, like what's gonna happen? Because like obviously Leia goes back to Alderaan and stuff, and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and like Luke like has to survive, and like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, but like the new people they introduce like Tala and Ned B and Roken and Haja, it's like what's gonna happen to them, and like Reva even too. It was like what's gonna happen because they're new, so anything could happen with them.
Right.
Exactly. And something we're going to talk about that I feel like this show did a very good job of was reintroducing the Force into our lives.
Yes.
And we see that a lot in episode 6, how Obi-Wan develops from when his hope is lost and he still believes in the Force, but he's not believing in himself. He is weak. He's old. He doesn't know what he's doing. And by the end, we see Obi-Wan at full power, stronger than we have ever seen him before, with his hope renewed with Leia and with Luke. And a lot of his, while his grief is still there with Anakin, you can see a lot of the guilt is starting to dissipate in the last episode. And I think this series as a whole did a really good job of reintroducing the Force and kind of showing us that it works in mysterious ways. We don't fully understand it, but Qui-Gon Jinn, who is another person we're going to be talking about, he was different than the rest of the Jedi Order, and his death, it meant a lot to Anakin going towards the dark side and the Jedi Order handling the Clone Wars pretty terribly. And at the end here, we see Obi-Wan going back to his master's teachings and trusting in the Force. And I think that's a kind of an exciting reintroduction to it, because we've seen so many different iterations of what the Force means, whether it's the duad in the new trilogy, or it's the dyad. There it is. Kept thinking duo, dyad.
The doodad.
The dyad in the Force. In the doodad, the dyad in the Force, or whether it's the midichlorians in the prequel trilogy that they emphasize so much on. I think they're getting back to basics, and I think it went really well. Garrett, what did you think of this season finale?
Yeah, it was an absolute banger. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat the entire way through. The human part of me was like, why didn't you just end it? You could have helped the galaxy, but obviously there are a lot of like inner Force things that are going on that you just explained, and when you look at it through that lens, it's a really beautiful transformation. That fight scene, maybe best live action fight scene. I don't know. We've seen some really awesome stuff, but I don't think we've ever seen the Force mixed in a lightsaber battle like that in live action, and it was incredible. Like, I got Goku vibes when he was, with all the rocks and everything. There was when Vader tripped his feet with the rocks, it's so like stupid and funny, but like awesome. I was hooked. So great episode. I loved how they tied things up. It really, I'm happy at the end. There was times when I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I had to have faith in the story, and it worked out well. So happy for that.
And that scene in Rebels where Ahsoka and Vader are interacting, and she slashes his mask, and we see his face. The fact that we just got that in live action, and you could tell it was a beaten up, burned Vader looking person, but you could tell it was Hayden Christensen as well.
Oh yeah.
That was my favorite choreographed lightsaber fight I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then the blows to Vader, hearing him struggle, and then when his mask is gone, the voice blending
was amazing.
Was just unbelievable. Specifically this scene, Emily, what'd you think, and how did you think they capped it off with this season finale?
I literally couldn't believe what I was seeing when that happened, because he had taken the like butt end of his lightsaber and was just like going at Vader like in the chest piece and stuff, and I was like, why hasn't anyone done that before? We got the pose. Yes! I was like, wow, peak Obi-Wan. And like, but when they were also, the other thing about the fight, when they were standing back to back, it took me back to that flashback and like back to when they were fighting on Geonosis, and like for a hot second, and I was talking to one of my friends about this too. He said, and I agreed with him, he said, it felt like they were back in sync and like they were brothers again in the fight too, and like making kind of like the flashback complete to like the present. And then like the slash in the helmet, of course, and with Ahsoka and Vader, Rebels parallel, just it killed me like emotionally. I was a mess by that time, and then the voice blending was just perfect, because the last time we had heard it, it was Matt Lantern's voice and James Earl Jones' voice like mixed, but having Hayden and like just the lines he delivered, it was such an emotional and like powerful performance, even though we got to only see like half of his face and we only got him for so little time. Was just, he did so much with that, and I feel like people don't give him enough credit.
No,
the voice blend too sounded even a little like animated Anakin in there as well.
Yeah.
And he even, sorry Garrett, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll throw it to
Classic
you here next,
TJ.
but even the way I know. Even the way he delivered the "then you will die" in the same way that it was delivered to Ahsoka. Oh, it was unbelievable.
It was just insane to me overall. Like that fight was just, it was something else. And then when he, sorry to like cut you off there and like to kind of like go backwards a little bit, like towards the beginning of the fight, when he was like above him in that ditch, high ground, and he was like throwing all those rocks on him.
I thought he was gonna say, "Who has the high ground now?"
It would have been a little too cheesy, so I'm kind of glad that they didn't throw it in, but it still would have been funny. It would have been a very Star Wars memeable moment. But
that would have been a bit too Marvel of them.
Yeah, a little bit. When he was like having like could hear like everybody in like those flashbacks in his mind, and then like he just finally used the Force. It's like that was like the moment you could see when he got himself back, which was fantastic to me.
And the camera work for that shot too, as it like crawls through the rubble and like a side hole was I was so digging that. But
yeah,
to take it back to the Hayden scene when the helmet is off, to me that is such a big FU to all the people who talk shit on his acting back in the day when he was, playing this kid who was like that, and it's like I do know what I'm doing. I am an actor. That was the writing, and I'm showing it to you guys now.
Poor writing, not poor acting.
Yeah, straight raw emotion the entire time. And I would love to see him in like other horror things as like a villain now, because he was just incredible in that role, like a scary movie, some kind of like supernatural thing, like where he's some kind. I was digging it. I cannot say enough about that. And to me, it's so perfect because the like leading up to the show coming out, in all the press, Hayden and Ewan were both so glad to talk and say, we now feel the appreciation, right? We feel the fan love now that we didn't feel back then. And it's so nice to like finally have it. And then for them to just absolutely crush every part of the series that they're in is just so full circle. And like I said, just an FU to all the haters. And I love that.
Yeah.
Garrett, I have a question for you, because you, as someone who has more gaming know-how than me, will know if this is unreasonable or not based on the timing. But my hot take is that we will see Reva in Jedi Survivor.
If that's the case, and it could be the case, then the character of Reva has been planned for like a long time, like a very long time.
Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of why I don't think she has. I think the reception of Moses Ingram is more of the reason why she's going to be getting something in the future, just because Moses Ingram crushed it, as opposed to the specific Reva character. But I just do feel like Cal Kestis and Reva would make an awfully good duo in the galaxy.
I agree, but if it's reception based, there's absolutely no shot.
Then it's
unless you're delaying the game like
exactly.
another,
she would have, because that means I feel like Moses would have had to do the voice and like the motion capture and stuff,
and they have to
Reva,
rewrite
like
the story
2 years ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
there's a lot at work there. But I like where your mind's at.
Maybe they write in a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Maybe they write in a post-credit scene to the story, to the campaign.
A DLC.
Yeah, exactly. Getting into Reva for this episode, the Luke arc was interesting. And so actually one more Vader point that I wanted to make, I almost forgot about. I had a bit of an epiphany while the two of you were talking, and it touches on the Force aspect that I brought up earlier. I kind of thought the one kind of qualm I had about this episode is it seemed like complete BS to me that Vader didn't check the body to make sure he was dead. He didn't feel that Obi-Wan died. When he did the huge Force push, he didn't notice until he was right behind him. But to me, as the kind of epiphany I just had was, that's still the small little bit of Anakin in there. Is he didn't really want him to be dead. He didn't really want to know. He wanted to just be able to leave it so that, even if it was some subconscious, that's that little bit of that light kind of hanging on. And so that's kind of how I viewed that one. But going back to Reva, with the Luke arc, I think what I liked about her arc this episode is I kind of thought it was a bit of, even though I love the character, I thought the criticism was a little valid of like, you didn't think your plan through that well here. Like, why try? Like, you were so outmatched by Vader. Why was this like your end goal? That wasn't going to go well. But what I liked about this one is we saw emotionally in this episode that Reva was very similar to a young Anakin, just in pain, emotional, not thinking straight, and just straight moving with rage, that the dark side infused rage until the very end here. And Emily, what did you think about this arc?
I thought Reva's like story overall was very interesting, and like right off the bat, like the first 2 episodes, I saw so much of Anakin in her, like you said, like with the rage and like just like the quick thinking and just taking action and stuff is like so something like Anakin had done in the past. And I think the Luke arc, I thought it was, because my thing with like Luke is Vader didn't know about the kids and all that stuff, so finding that message from Bail, and like being like, oh, she like figured it out. They're his kids. Or like going to kill. Like he didn't know that they were on Tatooine. He couldn't find Obi-Wan on Tatooine for 10 years. So it's not like he would know that, like, because like her mindset must have been like, you killed my family and like all the younglings and all the Jedi. I'm gonna go kill your son. He didn't know about the kids. So I in the way I was like, okay, it was a good plan, but how is he gonna know, and how is that gonna affect him? So that just kind of like threw me off. I totally thought she was going to die, but I was like, no, she's too angry to die. And we've seen that before with like Maul and stuff. And it was just, I thought it was like strange. But at the end though, when she couldn't do it, I knew she wasn't going to be able to go through with it. And like when she saw herself like as Luke, I thought that was like, getting like the emotion like up in her. And then she finally like kind of snapped and was like, I can't do it. And she just kind of lost it.
What do you think? And then what do you think gave it away
when she
that
asked
she wasn't
Obi-Wan,
going to kill him?
Maybe seeing herself in the kid. Maybe because it was a kid. Maybe because it was a kid.
I had this weird hunch back in the 1970s that he wasn't going to die in this scene.
Yeah, he was
obviously.
A young adult,
Maybe because he was gonna, maybe because he was gonna grow up.
He's gonna grow up to be the most overrated Jedi.
Oh yeah. But besides all that, like her seeing himself.
The whole prequel Order of Jedi Order, those guys all sucked outside Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Sorry.
It's okay. But like obviously like her like snapping and stuff, and then like she just got so emotional at the end. Sorry, my dog just kind of walked in here. I didn't expect that.
It's a dog-friendly podcast. My dog, I don't know if you can see him here. I'll back up. Obi-Wan is right here on the little chair behind me.
On the Obi-Wan podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine that.
But her getting something, getting really emotional at the end, it like affected me. I did end up feeling bad for her, because in the beginning I was like, I don't know if I want to root for this bad guy fully. But like at the end she was like, did I fail him? And you just kind of felt bad. But then kind of like thinking about Anakin, if he could have been like free from the Jedi and stuff, like would he have been happier just with Padme and free from the Order? And now she's free from the Jedi kind of, and free from the Sith. So I feel like that's going to be a little bit of a gift to her in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely think that's an interesting aspect of Ahsoka's guilt towards leaving Anakin, is she was the one who was right. Of everybody in that entire situation, she was the one who was right. You can leave these stupid institutional ideals of the Jedi Order and still work on the light side of the Force.
Yeah.
Anakin had Padme, Anakin had Ahsoka. There was a third path that doesn't get talked about in the movies that I think kind of speak to her guilt as well a little bit. But I agree. I think there's a lot of Reva in Anakin, and I think we're going to be seeing more of this character in the future as well. Obi-Wan and Leia just had such a beautiful emotional connection this episode, or throughout the whole series. And we see it at the start of the episode. We see it at the end of the episode when they're reunited. And my favorite part of that reunion was how much more excited she was to see Lola than Obi-Wan.
Because she was so happy to have her droid back.
Exactly. And like, so I'm a teacher. I taught 7th grade this past year. Next year, it kind of sounds like I might be doing some grade 5, grade 6 again. So 10-year-olds, right? And I don't know how much time you've spent with 10-year-olds, but if you have like a gift or a toy for them, doesn't matter how long. Yeah, it doesn't matter how long it's been since you've seen them. They care about that toy more. And like after they get that immediate like tunnel visioned excitement for the toy out of the way, it's like when you have a treat for a dog, right?
Yeah.
Then they're still excited to see you. Then like it's excitement. But when there's that shiny object there, they go to that first. And I thought that was pretty accurate, and it added a little bit of fun to that scene for me.
Yeah, and the things that he said about Padme and Anakin were just truly beautiful, and it was so nice to see Leia hearing that. And I think the way that they tied things up with, you know, like nobody can know about this or we'll be in danger, it plays really nicely to, you know, what we see in A New Hope. So I'm happy that was tied up well. Not everything I think was tied up well. With Reva and stuff, but I do like how Luke never saw a lightsaber. And they made very sure to show like his head was out of the roof by the time she was walking in. As she's running across the desert after him, the lightsaber is extinguished, and then by the time she's, you know, trying to make the decision, he's already knocked out. So I think that was nice. There's some decisions that, you know, now that everything is over, I still am like, I don't know why that happened. Like killing the Grand Inquisitor. That seems like in hindsight, they literally just did that to piss everyone off because they knew everyone would be like, wait, he was in Rebels. Are they different? Like, which is just honestly, that's an annoying thing.
That one did actually make a little bit of sense because it just showed another reason how and why Vader was always a step ahead of her, and he recognized her plans from the beginning, and it was him manipulating her, not the other way around.
But there's many other ways to show that don't involve the Grand Inquisitor just blatantly being stabbed in the stomach in front of us. One of his 2 stomachs, whatever. If that's the canon reason that you're going with, that we all have to dig on the internet to find out, then I think that's a little bit of a lazy writing.
I also forgot he has like I'm rewatching Rebels. I totally forgot that he has like either a brother or just fellow member of his race that's part of the like golden lightsaber Jedis.
That's him.
Yeah, he was a temple guard.
He was a temple guard.
Was that not a different temple guard?
That is him.
No, that was him.
That's him as a Jedi.
But then how does the timeline work out? Because there's the temple guard that Kanan goes to visit after
it's like a
he's
force
vision.
Blind. It's like a force vision.
It was like a force hallucination vision thing that he was seeing.
Oh, that makes more sense to me. So he never actually went to see all those guys.
No.
I thought those guys just branched out afterwards and made their own little thing after Order 66.
No.
That makes sense. This is why the animated stuff gets confusing, and even though I loved it and watched it a lot, it doesn't always clue in. This is why you got to talk it through with some experts.
True. Very true.
True.
That's wow, that makes that, when he pulls off his helmet, that makes that reveal obviously way cooler.
Yes. I can see the wheels turning in your head right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Rebels.
You're thinking.
So Rebels is my favorite Star Wars content that exists.
Yeah.
I love Rebels. I'm rewatching it as well because my dad doesn't watch any of the animated stuff, but I finally got my dad to watch Rebels because he didn't like Clone Wars that much because there wasn't really like an overall story he felt to it, but Rebels has like a whole storyline and a main cast, and he's really enjoying it, which surprised me. And I was like, you need to know this for Ahsoka. You need to know who Ezra is.
You need to know who a lot of people.
You need to know why she's after Thrawn.
And my biggest enjoyment is going back and just like focusing more on Sabine and Hera at this watch through. That's what I've been doing, is just like really trying to focus on their stories more during this watch, and I found that very enjoyable as well. I think one of the things with Riva that left a few things untied and like kind of off with her story was that it was a bit of a midway pivot. I don't think she was always intended to go on forward. I think they saw Moses Ingram's
She,
performance and said we need to change this.
yeah, she
Um,
was definitely meant to die. Sorry to cut you off.
exactly, I agree. I think that was the plan, and so I think they had to pivot this a little bit. And so I think that's why there was a couple odd, shaky parts. But I do think we're going to be seeing more of her in the future, and that kind of makes me question. They didn't say series finale. They've left the door open for a potential season 2. Do you think there will be a season 2? Do you want a season 2? Emily, I'll start with you.
So I wouldn't mind a season 2. I just have no idea what the story would be. I'd have no idea if they'd adapt anything from like the Obi-Wan comics or just come up with something on their own that's like a whole other problem that they could fill in the next like what 9 years, 10 years of Obi-Wan's time. I think if there is a season 2, they definitely just kind of have to be a little careful with it, and stuff. But I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind seeing more Ewan because I feel like this was the last time we'd see him in Star Wars. But I just, after this, I just want him and Hayden back.
That's similar to how I feel as well. Garrett, what do you think?
The only way I endorse a season 2 if it's just straight Clone Wars flashback scenes, or like something Cal Kestis moving forward. But I just there's no need for this. Don't do this. Like, don't do this. Please don't do this. There's so many other stories to tell that are amazing stories that we need to hear, that people want to hear. Don't, because stories can end, and stories should end sometimes. Sometimes there doesn't need to be other things that explain everything. Sometimes things just need to be left, and this is one of those situations, in my opinion.
I don't want Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. I do want more Obi-Wan Kenobi. I do kind of agree. This would almost be like going out on top of a championship if we don't see Ewan perform the role again, which would be fair. If I was him, the way the prequels got received and then the way this performance was, like, I could see wanting to kind of go out on top with that. But I don't think there's a specific Obi-Wan Kenobi series that needs to be told. I think if it did, I would worry they run into similar issues with the way people viewed Book of Boba Fett. I think Book of Boba Fett was freaking awesome, and I think the issue people had with it was how it was named. If it was named something else, and they knew they were going to be seeing The Mandalorian at some point, and this was a split story, I think people would have loved it. For me personally, didn't really get caught up in that, and so I just loved that I got to see more Mando and didn't really care that it wasn't a Boba Fett part. But I would worry that with an Obi-Wan series, I want to see some more of them, but I want to see these other people as well. What's Riva up to? What's Cal Kestis up to? What's all these other people in this 10-year period of time? The Rebels, what are they and Ahsoka up to? Let's have stories where they interact with each other. They tell stories that haven't been told in Rebels yet, that haven't been told in video games yet, throughout the galaxy. And in 2 or 3 episodes, we get some more Ewan playing Obi-Wan in them, but not necessarily for the full series. Something like a Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Galaxy, but live action. 2 characters, the way they set up, I think we're going to have to be seeing more of in the future is Haja, and it's Roken. Both of those characters survived, and Obi-Wan left them with a little something. Haja was clearly turning over a new leaf, and Obi-Wan looked at him and said, "Your word is good enough for me." And he looked at Roken and he said, "You're a leader. Don't stop." I think that kind of shows me we're going to be seeing more of them in the future. I don't necessarily need Obi-Wan season 2, but I want some more Obi-Wan, and I would love the branches of these stories to be told throughout the galaxy.
Something about Roken is he said his wife was a Jedi. Like, yeah, like she was murdered. I seriously wonder who his wife was. Like, I need to know who his wife was.
I think she was just Force sensitive. I don't think she was trained as a Jedi.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong though.
I'd also be so interested if like he hit a child, and never told us about that. And there's a little Force sensitive little Roken running around somewhere. I think that would be a pretty cool story as well. But Star Wars has lots of different avenues they could take this next. We get a little mini break now. What's the next on the Star Wars docket? Is it Andor?
Andor.
Andor's next on the docket. We got a mini break for now. We're still going to be talking through the rest of the episodes of Ms. Marvel every week. Next week as well, we're going to be having our Thor Love and Thunder primer. Damon's going to be coming back on to talk to us about some Thor comics. And I believe you're going to be meeting our guy Rich when you see that movie. Are you not, Garrett?
I'm going to be seeing him this weekend, actually. Yeah, I'm going to be meeting Rich this weekend.
This weekend?
Yeah.
Gonna meet Rich. We're gonna link back up with him after for a podcast after you guys meet. It's gonna be a good time. And of course, head over to agentsofandom.com. Check out our Anjali Bhamani interview of Ms. Marvel, of Overwatch, of Apex Legends. If you're watching this in video form, you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Agents of Fandom. If you're listening in podcast form, we love you too. Leave us a 5-star review. Hit us with a nice little written something in there. So something. Tell us how much you love us. And Emily, thanks so much. Sorry, we have an Emma, and that I always call her M, and I don't know if we're on a page where I can call you M yet. So
everyone calls me M or Emily, so it's totally fine.
Perfect, Emily. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And your Star Wars knowledge is impeccable, and
Thank you.
We're very thankful to get to take advantage of it today.
Thanks. Can I plug something for the Cosmic Circus real quick?
Of course.
You can check out my review for the Obi-Wan season finale over on thecosmiccircus.com.
There you go.
More of my thoughts there.
Perfect. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Make sure you also stay tuned for our interview with Scott Adsit, a.k.a. Baymax, a.k.a. Pete from 30 Rock. That's going to be coming to you next week as well. For myself, for our amazing guest, Emily, for my co-host, Garrett, that will do it for this week's episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. Peace.